Welcome to Arise Life, a community of believers being equipped, empowered, and released into their destiny. For more information, go to ariselife.org or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
What have we been studying? Abraham. Oh, yay. It's a one-word answer. You guys did great. All right. So if you guys got Bibles, you get points. Genesis 20. We're in the home stretch. Why? Because last week we talked about how on the response to what Scott was talking about, this sacrifice, when God said, I need you to lay down your own ability to make the blessing happen. We kept talking about God, every God encounter, he's speaking, he's encountering, there's a blessing and there's a sacrifice. There's a blessing and there's an obedience that is required. And so what happens is we watch this play out. God has said, what's the blessing that God has been saying he's going to give Abraham and Sarah? A child? What else? Land? What else? Descendants? What else? Prosperous. What else? We'll start out, if we can go back to chapter 12. He says, go to from your country. So that's the sacrifice piece. Go. And to the land I will show you. And then he says, and I will make you a great nation. And I will make your name will be great, and you will be a blessing. Be a blessing. We talked last week that God is not interested in having a bless me club. He's interested in making us a blessing club. That we are a blessing to the world. And in fact, if we are blessed and do not turn around and become the blessing, that blessing will own us. And it will take us hostage. And so one of the things that he did is he actually had Abraham do the ultimate sacrifice as far as his ability in his mind to have kids, circumcision. And he did it. He did it quickly, right? We saw Abraham. He finally did something right. I mean, he's my person, but maybe you want him to do well. And he finally did it. He immediately went and did it. Crazy. And then on the backside of it, he has this incredible encounter with God in the flesh. God, 3 persons, comes down and has dinner with him. And they go, this time next year, you'll have a kid. We went from sometime, we went from somehow, we went to, you're going to have a kid. It's going to be with Sarah. It's happening. We're making this happen. Victory, right? We're done. Home stretch. What could go wrong? Who are my people? You have the ability to shoot yourself in the foot 3 times before breakfast. All right, come on. Listen, you're about to get encouraged. All right, so chapter 20. Now, Abraham moved on from the region of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. And for a while, he stayed in Gerar. And there Abraham said to his wife, Sarah, she is my sister. Okay, guys, anybody feel like you're watching reruns of the Beverly Hillbillies? This is not a good thing. What happened when he went down to Egypt? Did he do the same thing? Okay, if you don't learn from a lesson, what do you get to do? Take the test again. Did he learn from the lesson? Apparently not. Well, let's just see. So he goes, she is my sister. Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. Now, what do you, okay, guys, who are my people? You do the thing, and at some point in the process, you go, it's happening again. All right? I think this is about that point in the story where the ship has sailed. All right, and he goes, but God came to Abimelech in a dream. Once again, God couldn't get a hold of Abraham on the phone, couldn't get a hold of Sarah, But he did manage to get a hold of Abimelech. Let me just tell you, isn't it good news that God is so committed to your welfare that he is going to find other people to help you when you're dumb? Amen. Who here has been dumb and the Lord revealed it to someone else for your welfare? Yeah, come on. This is the kindness of God. It is his kindness that leads us to repentance. And she goes, God said, you are as good as dead. Whoa. Because of the woman you have taken, she is a married woman. Dude, Abraham's like, I don't know, she's my sister. God's like, you're gonna die if you touch her. Aren't you glad that God is looking out for your welfare in your relationships more than you? You tracking with me? Who here feels like you got to fight all your battles yourself? God is fighting for you. Even when people are fully dumb and against you. He goes, now Abimelech had not gone near her. Hey, I didn't touch her. So he said, Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Did he not say to me, she is my sister, it's not my fault? And she also say, he is my brother? I've done this with a clear conscience and clean hands. Then God said to him in a dream, yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, so I've kept you from sinning against me. That is why I didn't let you touch her. Oh, he was like, I wanted points for not touching her, and he's like, you didn't even get a chance. God is so powerful. He said, that is why. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet. Well, that's news. Isn't that news? Abraham's like, so you're saying there's a chance. All right. This man is a prophet. Why? Because he hears from God. He will pray for you and you will live. Is there much going on in Abraham's life that leads one to believe that that's going to happen? At this point, we have a coward. He's being a coward. He's being a sellout, right? And it's round 2. Now, this is the good news. Who here, when it's 25-0 after the 4th inning, you want to call the game? Do you know what I'm talking about? You're like, well, that day's shot. As long as we're going downhill, might as well go on a slide. You know, tomorrow's another day. No. 3 of us blink twice. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. It's already too late anyway. We're not going to win. We might as well just go to bed, even if it's 1 p.m. Just call the day, right? But instead, what does he do? This is why I'm saying there's hope. It doesn't matter how dumb you is. It doesn't matter how many times you've already failed and been in this exact space. The minute you come to your senses, even if it's somebody with a 2-by-4 upside your head named Abimelech, God getting you hold of you, it is the day of your salvation. It's the moment when everything can turn around. Whew. Now pray for him, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you don't return her, you may be sure that you and all you belong will die. Isn't it nice to know God's got your back, even when you don't have his back? Early the next morning, Abimelech summoned all the officials, and when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called in Abraham, and Abraham was like, hey. Called Abraham in and said, what have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You've done things to me that should never be done. And Abimelech asked Abraham, what was your reason for saying this, doing this? Abraham replied, I said to myself, by the way, that's your first sign. I said to myself, me, myself, and I got together on a conference call, and we decided, you can watch this in the life of David. When he inquires of the Lord, when he thinks to himself, ooh. Call a friend. Dial a friend. If you can't get God on the phone, dial a friend. Just saying. He goes, what does he say? He says, I said to myself, there's surely no fear of God in this place. Is there fear of God in this place right now? Oh, yeah, there's a lot of fear of God in this place. God's like, you didn't ask me to bring it. I would have brought it if you asked. Real fear. Real fear, like not the pansy stuff you got going on there. The real fear. He's like, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she really is my sister. I'm so encouraged. Who here has taken a test more than once? Who here has taken a big test more than once? Come on, there's hope. There's hope. We can make it, boys and girls. But I want to say, is just because you already flubbed the test doesn't mean you can't pass it on the back end. God gives extra credit. God wove in extra credit. You know how I know? God wove in the extra credit. Because he had already failed the test, right? And God says, but if you do number 25, which is pray for the man, you pass. Repentance, at any point you can turn to God and live. At any point, today is the day of salvation. You don't have to wait. And so what does he do? He said to myself, all right, besides, she's really my sister, the daughter of my father, and though not of my mother, so it's not weird like Kentucky style, and she became my wife. And when God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, now this is how you can show your love to me? That is Kentucky. Everywhere we go, sorry, I'm from Kentucky. He is my brother. Then Abimelech brought sheep, cattle, male and female slaves, and gave them to Abraham, and returned Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, my land is before you. Live wherever you like. Just help us. To Sarah he said, I am giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. This is to cover the offense against you, because all who are with you, and you are completely vindicated. Now, if I'm Abraham, what are you thinking? It worked. Who here has had that? Where you did it your way. You connived. You schemed. You fabricated the truth a little bit. And it worked. Therefore, God must be for me. All right, sorry, I'm meddling. He said, but listen, he doesn't get it twisted, and the evidence is what happens next. Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female slaves so they could have children again. Stop the phone. What? You mean he prayed that they might have children, and he didn't have children? How does that work? How can you have faith for somebody else for something you don't even have faith for yourself? You know how? Because faith ain't a feeling. Faith is obedience. Faith is a choice. Hear me on this. I cannot tell you the number of people I prayed for with knees who got healed while I had no healing in my knee. You know how annoying that is? Level 17, if you're curious. It's very annoying. But I want to tell you, it's so important that we do not, because a lot of us, we have this idea, I will be a blessing when I got the blessing for myself. No, you are the blessing, and then you discover that he blesses you. For the Lord kept all the women from conceiving because of Abraham's wife Sarah. Let me just say this again. You can't do the math in this world. This math doesn't math, does it? Just hear me on this. Who here tries to math with God? God don't play. God does it his way. And he said, now the Lord was on the backside of this obedience. Because what does he do? He actually is now walking in his destiny to be a blessing to the nations. Because he's walking in his destiny to be a blessing to the nations, suddenly, well, guess what happens? Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. I want to just tell you this. You are not so powerful that you can disqualify yourself from the blessings of God. You can delay them, though. Done that enough. But I'm just telling you, this is when he talks about that God will work all things together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purposes. When Abraham got on the ball and started living according to God's purposes, guess what? All of a sudden, God can write those things. Did this story end a little different than Egypt? Remember what happened in Egypt? What happened? The Pharaoh said, "What's going on? Get out of here." And that was it. I want to just say, no matter where you are, it's not too late to surrender and obey. But you can't go back and obey like you would have at first. You just start from that point. God, what do you want me to know? What do you want me to do? I made a mess, right? All right. So now the Lord was gracious to Sarah, as he said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah bore him. Isaac means laughter. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him. Now again, they didn't have an idea about circumcision. The fact that they'd all survived the first time was pretty amazing. What an incredible thing of trust, saying, God, I trust you with this thing that I've waited, this child I've waited all my life for. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born to him. And Sarah was 90. Sarah said, God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. And she added, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age. Guys, I'm going to tell you this. Whatever delay has happened, the promise will not be fulfilled the way you think it will be fulfilled. But listen. I love it. You know how God started the New Testament? He took a woman who was too old to have children, and he took a girl who had no husband, and he said, babies. God, I don't think you understand how this works. I want to tell you, who are we to tell God what he can and cannot do? We have to lay down our schemes and our plans and our understanding of what it means for us to be a blessing and what blessing he has for us and say, God, here I am. Send me. But remember what she said, everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. Keep reading. Verse 8, the child grew and was weaned, and on the day Isaac was weaned, Abraham held a great feast. Let's say he was 6. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham was mocking. And she said to Abraham, get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. Got to understand this. Ishmael's 20. Isaac is 6. In practical terms, in that part of the world, as we see later on in the book, it is not uncommon for brothers to kill heirs. You tracking with me? Now here's the question. Ishmael is mocking a 6-year-old. 20-year-old dude mocking a 6-year-old. Where do you think he learned that? You can see coming out of your kids what you put in there. So I'm just trying to set the scene. 20-year-old mocking a 6-year-old who is going to get his inheritance. But Sarah saw the son, and she said to Abraham, get rid of that slave woman and her son, for the woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. 50-50 on that. The matter so Sarah had real reason to be afraid, but she was also like, hey, no, that woman's not sharing, right? Sound familiar? Now, by the way, who started this problem we're dealing with? Sarah, right? And Abraham, and then Hagar. So, okay. Sarah had the idea. Yeah. All right. The matter distressed Abraham greatly because it concerned his son. But God said to him, do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring. Okay, I'm gonna say something here, and God help me to get it out in a way that makes sense. In this life, we have relationships, lots of different relationships. Some are more important than others. Does that make sense? Why are they more important? A lot of times it's covenantal, like a marriage, or with kids, or family, or it's friendship, where you have sacrificed for each other. There's a depth of relationship. And then there are other relationships that come in that mess with it. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And a lot of times we put up with relationships that are messing with the crucial relationships for various reasons. Anybody think of reasons why we put up with or even pursue relationships that are detrimental to the important relationships? What are some reasons? It's easier. It's easier, yeah. Don't make a mess. Less confusing. Well, I'll give you an example. You're at work, and your coworker is sympathetic, and your spouse tells you the truth. Why would you choose to continue that relationship? It's comforting. It gives me something I want. Abraham doesn't care about Hagar. He said, I'm worried about my kid. I want my kid. I'm keeping her around, even though it's dangerous. Possibly he might kill Isaac. Anybody see a problem? Who here, you've kept a relationship going out of guilt? Because you feel guilty? Maybe you're in too far. Maybe there's a relationship. Maybe it's a business relationship where you gave your word and then later realized you should never have given your word. Anybody done that? And there are relationships, and God will come to you and say, give me that relationship. And here's the problem. When we make relationships, it's like when two become one. If you break a relationship, it's messy. And who here, this is the number one reason why I've stayed in relationships I shouldn't have been in. I couldn't figure out a way for it not to be messy. I couldn't figure out a way that I didn't come off looking like the bad guy. Couldn't figure out a way not to hurt people. That was a big one for me. Who are my people? You don't like to hurt anybody. Or at least for people to know you did it. No, but the reality is there is going to be mess. If there is an improper relationship, there will be mess when you break it off. And there are so many different improper relationships. And you know how you can tell? They are a drain on your life. They're a drain on the important relationships. They're the drain on your calling. They're the drain on the calling you have to be a blessing. And God will ask you for them. And you know how I know it's God asking for you? Because you don't want to do it at all. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay, I've done this enough times on your behalf. I did field research. I'm here for you. I want to tell you, you never want to do it. And the fact that you even have a thought about doing it is a sign God is speaking. Does that make sense? Because it is completely contrary to your natural desires or plans, schemes. I'll tell you what, I have stayed in business relationships with people because it looked like it was going to someday pan out big time. Greed. And God's like, why are you hanging around? Because they're wealthy and I was hoping to strike it rich. Just being real. And in this moment, the ability to say, God, I trust you not just with the outcome, but I trust you with the mess. And I trust you with the shame. I'll trust you with the fact that people might think I'm evil. I had a couple relationships where I broke them off and I was like, that person thinks I'm the Antichrist now. And they may not be wrong. And I lived with that belief for about 17 years. And then I ran into the person, and I could not have been more wrong. But I had to even surrender the whole narrative to them, to God. God, I have to break off this relationship and trust you for the process. And that's what you see with Abraham. Abraham knows he's wrong. Can I just say that? Abraham he knows. He knows how wrong he is. But let me tell you, more wrongs don't make a wrong right. Did you track with me? More wrongs don't make a wrong right. If you gave your word and God said you weren't supposed to do it, keeping your word is not necessarily right. If God is telling you, you shouldn't do it. Who here, you have, okay, I'll give you an example. I've been asked to do things that I later found out were illegal. I said I would do them before I realized they were illegal. You tracking with me? Yeah. But the funny thing is, I have no problem if the law tells me not to do it. But what if God says you should never have said you would go there with that person? God's law. Because I have watched these improper relationships. I'm not even talking about sin, I'm talking about relationships that are draining us, drawing us away from God, away from the important things in life, distractions. Those things are some of the things that sap so much of our life. Some of us, we're involved in groups, activities, clubs, because we've been involved with them for years. We don't even know why we go anymore. But every Tuesday, you know what okay, stop meddling. I'm going to play whack-a-mole pretty soon. Just see how everybody starts ducking. Okay, come on. Come on. But I wanted you to see how God is working both sides of this equation, where they all made a mess, right? Just because you made a mess doesn't mean you have to wallow in it. Do not be so distressed. Listen to whatever Sarah says. Notice he didn't say Sarah was right. He just said, listen to her. Guys, she doesn't have to be right for God to tell you to listen to her. And you don't have to rub it in either. Okay. Ladies, we're going to take up an offering. If it's big enough, I'll say it again. No. Bad. Sorry. Needed some humor. Y'all were dying on me. I was going to we ain't going to have it. There will be no survivors. All right. No dread Private Roberts. All right. So early in the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. Okay, he's in the desert. Here's a water bottle and a Twinkie. And then he set them on her shoulders and then sent her off with the boy. She went her way and wandered in the desert of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Okay, she's hardy because he's 20. But, a lot of times when you get older, you realize you can put up with a lot. Whereas when you're young, you're like, I just can't do it. Anyway, that's my image. She laid him under one of the bushes, and then she went off and sat down about a bow shot away, for she thought, I cannot watch the boy die. And as she sat there, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation. If the two of them stayed together, there probably would have been no nation. But by splitting them apart, he could make two nations. Sometimes God, the way the devil messes people up is he gets them together. Two people with a great destiny. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. Who are my people? You're like, God, there's nothing you can do to help me. I'm all out of options. God's like, you mean other than that well that's 10 feet from you? Oh, yeah. She went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. And God was with the boy as he grew up. And he lived in the desert and became an archer. And while he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. So there's a couple takeaways from this whole passage, right? We started out with Abraham really screwing it up, but stopping in midstream. I want you to know this. You are going to screw up at some point in a place where you have failed before. That's not a prophecy. It's just life. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, so what I want you to do is when you realize, oh, this is that thing Peter talked about, first of all, I want you to lay shame by the wayside. Because shame gets in the way of you remembering Jesus' phone number. And in that moment, go, God, what do you want me to know right now? I'm in the middle of it. What do you want me to know? I will tell you the most transformative breakthroughs in my life and in righteousness for me have happened in the middle of sin. Because there's no fig leaves at that point. You are wide open. Like, we're not like dialoguing, like arguing with God. It's like, I don't know, whatever you want, Lord. And in that moment, your ability to turn to God and say, here I am. What do you want me to know? But realize it's going to require sacrifice, and that sacrifice is not necessarily going to make sense. Whether it's Abraham praying for them to have what he had never been able to pray for Sarah to have, or it's breaking off a relationship when you can't control the fallout. Whatever it is, the sacrifice will not make sense. But you'll know in your heart that it's right. But if you demand evidence for why you should do it, you're not going to get it. Do you know how I know? So far, 50-some years in, I've never gotten it. He will not explain. He'll say, do it. And I want to just tell you, there are a number of us, we are in relationships or we're in situations where God has been calling us to sacrifice, and we have been resisting him for years, hoping he'll change the subject, and he hasn't. And you know how I know? It's popped up on your screen while we were talking today. And don't worry about anybody else. They got something else on their screen. But what is that thing that he has had his finger on, and we've been saying, nah, have you considered this? What about that? Look away. He won't change the subject, but I want to tell you, just like what happened to Abraham, could it not be the very blessing you've been crying out to God for is on the other side of that sacrifice? That in that moment, you're going to see massive acceleration that you've been trying to make happen by your own effort. Maybe it's getting kids who have walked away from God back. Maybe it is actually getting a relationship. Maybe it's a business situation. Maybe it's a retirement situation. Maybe it's a housing situation. Maybe it's a relationship. I don't know what it is. But if had zero success your way, are you ready to try it God's way? But God's ways are not our ways. They don't make sense. And they seem counterproductive a lot of times. But they're good. Give you just a minute before the worship team comes. Because following God is not complicated, except when we try to figure it out for ourselves or try to figure out an alternative. Then it becomes complicated. Most of the time, we have a pretty good idea what God wants us to do. We just don't want to do it. We just don't think it's a good idea. We don't think he's considered all the reasons why. But I just want to say, wherever God has touched you today, don't get distracted by all the other things I talked about. Don't worry about somebody else's whack-a-mole. God has got yours. Father, we just come before you and we say, what do you want us to know about this thing we've been avoiding? What do you want us to know? And what do you want us to do? And Lord, I pray that like Abraham, we will immediately pray, immediately circumcise, immediately obey. And God will trust you for the outcome. Lord, we love you. If we have the worship team come. Father, I just thank you that you are so intent on blessing us. You're so intent on us being a blessing to the world that you will pursue us nonstop. And you will meet us in the middle of sin. You'll meet us in the middle of a breakdown. You'll meet us in the middle of our delusion. You will seek us out by every means possible because you love us. Not because you're bad, not because you're trying to take away our fun, not because you're trying to take away that thing that you put your finger on, but because you know that thing has owned us and that thing is keeping us from dependence on you and keeping us from the blessing you have for us. So if we can stand as we go into worship. Scott read Romans 12 about making our bodies a living sacrifice, which is our worship. Living our bodies a living sacrifice means actually put your body into motion and obey. Means do. Do. Not talk, do. So whatever God's put in your heart, I would just encourage us, let us resolve it today to hear and obey.
Just like Hagar, who was in the desert, believing that she is going to die and there is no future and there is no hope. Oh, I feel like my word to this morning for those who like Hagar right now in the desert crying out. You know, that song is just perfect. I sought the Lord and he heard and he answered. If you are just like Hagar crying out and just saying, Jesus, if you don't show up, that dream I had is going to die. If you don't show up, there is no more provision. If you don't show up, be like, I need you, Jesus. I need you, Jesus. I feel like he wants to open our eyes to where the spring of life is, to open our eyes supernaturally. I just want to open this altar right now. Just come and lay down. If you need to, just literally come and lay at the altar and just say, Jesus, here I am. I don't know how to go forward, but I'm seeking you with all I have. I'm just letting everything go. I am just letting everything go. I don't want my way anymore. I don't know how it's all going to work out, but I want your way. I want your way. I'm seeking you right now, and I'm waiting on the answer. Because I know that I can trust you. Because I know that I can trust you no matter what things look like. No matter what it feels like. No matter what the circumstances are screaming at me. I believe that you will hear me and that you will answer me. That you will hear and you will answer me. This altar is open right now. Just come and just say, Jesus, here I am. Just here I am. Please answer me. Hear my cry.
You know, I feel like for a lot of us, we're not in the desperate situation yet. But if we obey, like Hagar, we're headed out into the wilderness. We're losing the one sure thing. But that was the way of life for Hagar. She needed out of that twisted situation. And only out of it would there be life. And, you know, oftentimes we say, God, I'll go if you show me, guarantee that XYZ will happen. It doesn't work that way. But he is good. But he is good. And so if you're finding in that place where God's calling you to obedience and it's going to cause desperation, just be real with him. I believe. Help my unbelief. As a little side note, if I accidentally were to acknowledge something happening specifically in your life, nobody told me. That's just Jesus saying he loves you and he sees you. He sees you. He knows where you're at and he loves you and he's calling you out of where you're stuck to bring you into his marvelous light.
For more information, go to ariselife.org or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.